Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about a new tariff introduced by Octopus Energy called Octopus Flux. Now this is a tariff designed for solar panel and home battery users. It provides a great option for relatively low electricity users such as myself throughout the spring, summer and autumn seasons who export significant amounts of electricity during these times. So I switched to this tariff on the 20th of March. And I'm recording this video on the 27th of March, so I thought I'd give you my first week's update because we've had some mixed weather during the time, so I thought I'd let you know how it's going, and so far it appears to be pretty lucrative. Already towards the end of March it looks like I'll make enough to cover my standing charges for both gas and electricity, and also the gas and electricity usage for some days as well, which is great, so stay tuned for more. So first of all, let's take a look at some of the tariff details. So essentially this is an import and export tariff rather than having the two tariffs independently. It has differing rates throughout different times during the day. First of all, there's an off-peak time period between 2 AM and 5 AM every day, a peak period between 4 PM and 7 PM, and then a daily rate for the rest of the time during the day. So this tariff incentivizes users to draw their energy needs from the grid during off-peak periods when often at times the energy generation is greener, and it then discourages peak period usage by charging a higher rate of electricity between 4 and 7 PM, and then also offers a lucrative export rate to encourage customers to assist the grid during these times by exporting electricity back to the grid using their solar panels and home battery. So I currently have the rates for this tariff on the screen for the northeast, and these may vary slightly depending on where you live. So as you can see, the day rate for the import is 31.87 pence per kilowatt hour. During the day I can export at 20.87 pence per kilowatt hour. The cheap off-peak flux rate between 2 and 5 AM is 19.12 pence per kilowatt hour, and the export rate is 8.12 pence per kilowatt hour. So they obviously don't want people exporting during this time when there's a bit of an excess of electricity as well. The peak rate between 4 and 7 PM import costs are 44.62 pence per kilowatt hour, and the export during this time is 33.62 pence per kilowatt hour. And there's a standing charge of 48 pence per day to be on this tariff as well. Now there's a couple of conditions to sign up for this tariff. First of all, you need to be an Octopus customer, obviously. If you're not an Octopus customer currently and you would like to be, it would be great if you could use my referral link, which is on the screen now and also in the video description as well. If you sign up using this link, you get £50 into your account, and I also get £50 as well. This tariff for me is just another example of Octopus's innovative tariffs and how their tariffs are really designed to work for the customer. They also have many other tariffs to suit different use cases, so be sure to check out the website to find out more. Now secondly, you need to have a working smart meter. Octopus then need to be able to connect to your smart meter and be able to take half-hourly usage readings, and they estimate that this can take up to 14 days to complete. For me, because I was already an Octopus customer, the import tariff was moved across straight away and the export was done 24 hours later, which was great. You then just need to accept the terms and conditions and away you go. So this tariff is listed as a flexible tariff, so prices could fluctuate. However, as there are no exit fees, you're free to leave to any other tariff at any point in time. The T's and C's state that you'll need a solar system and a home battery to be eligible for this tariff, and you also need a copy of your MCS document to prove that you have solar panels installed, and also the approval from your DNO supplier if required. Now you can stick at this tariff if you have an electric car, but be sure to do the maths here, as other tariffs such as Octopus Go or Intelligent Octopus might be a better option here depending on the mileage that you do in your electric vehicle. Also be careful if you have a fit tariff, as switching this tariff may mean that you lose some of the benefits of that as well. Finally, Octopus state that there's no limit on the amount of electricity that you can export, which is great. They initially had a solar size limit of 9 kilowatts peak, but they've since removed that from the terms and conditions. So what's the best way to utilise this tariff? So I think this will depend on your own personal usage, but I'll describe a few scenarios and show you why I've gone with what I've gone with. So many people will prefer to charge the batteries during the night on the off-peak rate, and then that means they can export everything that they generate during the day from the solar panels. This means that even if it's a cloudy day, the house consumption is taken care of because the battery can support the house during the day. Taking this approach also allows you to make the most of the 4 till 7 PM export, because you can discharge the battery to a greater extent knowing that you've only got to last until 2 AM in the morning instead of it lasting all night until the sun comes up. Personally, because I'm a pretty low user of electricity, I think I'll do it slightly different to this, although I've played around with it during my first week on Flux to try and figure out the best way to do things. So if I can, which looks really likely at the moment because I haven't needed to for most of February and March, what I'll do is not draw anything from the grid during the night, and then I'll allow my solar panels to charge a battery up during the day, hopefully finishing around about midday, and then export during the afternoon and then into the peak times between 4 and 7 PM. And then I'll also discharge a battery a few kilowatts during this time as well, just to maximise the gains, but also leave enough in the battery that it's going to last me overnight until the sun comes up the next day. So why would I do it this way? First of all, I like the idea of not drawing anything from the grid if I can. And secondly, the difference between the nightly import rate and the daily export rate is only 1.75 pence, so it seems by the time you take into account system losses, not really worth charging up during the night. There's also the argument around limiting your battery lifetime by constantly discharging and charging, but doing it this way won't actually use any more cycles on the battery itself. If you have any thoughts on this, or you want to let me know how you're using the tariff, then feel free to let me know in the comments. So, onto the all-important question, and how much does it cost me during my first week using Octopus Flux, and what can I expect for the rest of the year? So let's take a look at the weekly figures between the 21st of March and the 27th of March. As I mentioned earlier, I had a real mix of weather, so it's probably a good week to do a comparison. So we generated a total for the week of about 114 kilowatt hours, and then if we look at our import for the week, we have a total import of about 34 kilowatt hours. Now, usually my weekly usage would not normally be this high, but there was a saving session on one of the days, and on a different day I also drew from the grid during the off-peak period to establish which method was best. And so that totaled a cost of about £14 for the 2 days, and for the rest of the time I've barely imported anything. Now for the export part, I exported about 81 kilowatts for the week, totaling over £20. And if we look at the 27th of March, which was a beautiful sunny day, you can see how I began exporting to the grid between 11:30 and 12 o'clock once the battery was full. And if we look at the export, you can see that I relied on the solar export until about 5:30 PM, and then I also added the battery discharge alongside the solar generation to maximise the savings during the off-peak time period. So I think it's fair to assume that for a normal week we could take out the savings session, which won't happen throughout the spring and summer anyway, and realistically we wouldn't need to draw anything from the grid for the week during the night, and we would therefore just rely on the solar panels alone to power the home for all my usage from February, March onwards throughout the year until winter time. And if we then look at the export for the week, I stand to make an average of around £3 per day throughout March. And this doesn't even take into account the savings on my bills, which equates to around £1.80 a day as well, assuming 5 to 6 kilowatt hours of average daily use versus the price cap. So potentially if we extrapolate that throughout the month, we're earning or saving up to £150. And this is in March, which is absolutely brilliant. And bear in mind, this should only continue to improve as the year goes on as well. Kind of feels like I've got my own little power plant in my home. I'll keep you updated with this as the year goes on, so be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you found this helpful. So, will you be signing up to the Octopus Flux tariff? If so, let me know in your comments what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.